Hello and welcome to the Hindu News Analysis by Baji IAS Academy. So, in this lecture, we will discuss all important and relevant news articles, and they are given in the Hindu newspaper. Okay, so before discussing all important articles, let's discuss the yesterday given practice question. So, the question was the New START treaty that was in news. What is this treaty? See, this treaty was in news several times, and this treaty is also very important because of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict and also US imposing unilateral sanctions on Russia. Okay, so the correct answer for this question is option A. Okay, so this is a bilateral strategic nuclear arms reduction treaty. Okay, this is a nuclear arms reduction treaty, and that was signed between USA and Russia, okay, or Russian Federation. Now, if you understand what is New START treaty, so the New START treaty, this was actually a treaty between United States of America and Russian Federation, and uh, the objective of this treaty is that it measures for the taking measures for the further reduction and the limitation of strategic offensive arms. Right. The New START is an agreement for nuclear arms reduction. So this is an agreement between USA and Russian Federation for nuclear arms reduction, and this was signed between USA and Russia. And this establishes limits on deployed strategic nuclear warheads on each other's, near to borders. And this also includes sharing or exchange of information related to new short range missiles. Okay, so this is all about the New START treaty. And the today's practice question is the Himalayan range is very rich in species diversity. Okay, Himalayas are very rich in species diversity. And which one of the following is most appropriate reason for this phenomena? You have to find out the most appropriate reason for species diversity or species richness in Himalayas. The option A is it has a high rainfall that supports luxuriant vegetation growth. Option B, it is a confluence of different biogeographic zones. Option C, exotic and invasive species have not been introduced in this region. Option D, it has a very less human interference. So you have to select the correct option and also write that correct option in the comment section. Okay, so just try and answer these questions. Over a period of time, you will develop the habit of answering questions how UPSC has been asking questions. So I have been giving all the previous year UPSC questions. Okay, so let's discuss all the important news articles. So these are the list of important news articles for today's discussion. The first article is an ordinance and its constitutionality and scrutiny. So we have been discussing about the Delhi versus a Union tussle, or there was a conflict. Recently, the Supreme Court Constitution bench also delivered a judgment that the democratically elected government in Delhi will control administration or services so in the national capital. So in opposition to this judgment, or in order to negate this judgment, recently union government have come up with a new ordinance. Okay, so Government of National Capital Territory Amendment Act 2023. Okay, so a new ordinance was passed by the union government under article 123 of the constitution. So article 123 says that the union government can come up with, or president can pass an ordinance when the both houses of the parliament are not in session. So therefore, this Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Amendment Act 2023 says it has established National Capital Civil Services Authority, right? So this National Capital Civil Services Authority make recommendations to the Lieutenant Governor over the appointment and transfer of administrators or bureaucrats in the national capital. So therefore, this was negating the constitutional bench judgment of the Supreme Court. So in this backdrop, we will discuss the ordinance constitutionality and a greater scrutiny of this amendment or ordinance. And secondly, we have to understand what is a old pension scheme and what is a new pension scheme, because several states have been reverting back to the old pension scheme from the new pension scheme. We need to understand the basic difference between new pension scheme and the old pension scheme, and why employees are demanding for states to revert back to the old pension scheme. In fact, several states, Himachal Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Punjab, and Rajasthan also, so they started adopting the old pension scheme again. So in this backdrop, it is important because it may be an important prelims question. Right. The next article is all-in-one policy plan to spread insurance in India. So the insurance regulator, that is Insurance Regulation and Development Authority of India, has come up with a new policy. And this new policy will include all the categories of insurances into a single policy. For example, there is accident cover, life cover, property cover, vehicle insurance. So all these insurance forms will be covered under a single an umbrella policy. So therefore, it will the Insurance Regulation and Development Authority of India hopes that it would increase the insurance penetration in India, because in India the insurance penetration is very low. So therefore, we will discuss what is this all-in-one policy plan and how it could spread or increase the penetration of insurance cover across India. The next article is with respect to a new committee to watch Cheetah Project. Project Cheetah was initiated in India, where 12 tigers from Namibia and South Africa were introduced into India. Now, a new committee was formed to monitor the Project Cheetah, and what is the impact of introducing cheetahs into Kuno Palpur National Park, and how to sustain the cheetah numbers, etc., will be covered by the new committee. And the next article is amid reports of shortage, Food Safety and Standards Authority of India to hold surveillance on milk and milk products. So this is with respect to overall decline in the milk productivity, and decline in milk productivity is coupled with adulteration of milk. So therefore, the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India will intervene and prevent attempts to adulterate milk. Now, in this backdrop, we will also discuss about the lumpy skin disease. What is this disease and how it has been affecting the cattle and overall milk production? So, the first article is with respect to the ordinance, the recently issued ordinance by the president under Article 123 of the Constitution. Now, small backdrop of this issue is that recently, a constitution bench of the Supreme Court has delivered a judgment. So, the judgment is with respect to a control over the bureaucrats in Delhi. Okay, so Supreme Court says that the lieutenant governor is bound by the minister's aid and advice. Okay, so the elected government in Delhi has a legislative power. Okay, so since it is elected by the people in the Delhi, and it also represents the general will of the people, it also represents the general will of the people. The elected government in Delhi has the legislative power over city services. City services include civil services, bureaucrats or bureaucracy, so that it can control the officers executing its policies, because the officers who are deployed in national capital territory, they implement and execute policies of the elected government in Delhi. So therefore, the court envisioned the larger policy or the larger control of the elected government over the services. Secondly, the court has also reiterated that lieutenant governor is bound by the aid and advice of the government's council of ministers. Okay, so in several matters, the lieutenant governor, who is appointed by the president in the union territory of Delhi, should be bound by the aid and advice of the council of minister, except a few areas. Okay, what are those areas? Land, public order, and police. So remaining all these areas, the lieutenant governor is bound by the aid and advice of the council of ministers. Now, what does this judgment mean? The state government will be control of appointing, transferring officers in Delhi administration. Now, state government itself will appoint and control the appointment or transfer of the administrator and services. And earlier this power has been exercised by the lieutenant governor. So this tussle between the Delhi government and the lieutenant governor is a continuously evolving, because earlier also there was every matter being referred by the lieutenant governor to the president, and that has affected the administration and governance in the national capital territory of Delhi. So therefore the Supreme Court has also directed that the lieutenant governor should not reserve every matter for the president. Okay, so there is no need to reserve every matter for the president's consideration, and even day-to-day administrative matters should not be referred to the president. Okay, so in case of any matter related to finance or any matter which violates the constitution, okay, so only those matters should be referred to the president. In that way the general will of the public through the elected government can be fulfilled, and governance and administration will take place in a more effective way. So this was the judgment of the constitutional bench in the year 2023 May. So now, after the judgment, what center was after centered what centered it? The center passed a new ordinance. Okay, so using its powers under Article 123 of the Indian Constitution. So what Article 123 says that? So Article 123 says that the president have the power to promulgate an ordinance in case both houses of the parliament are not in session. Okay, so now uh, the top court's May 11 order was nullified through this ordinance. Okay, so the move effectively nullified the Supreme Court, because how it has nullified? Because it has passed Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Amendment Act 2023. Okay, so the ordinance brought an amendment to Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Act 2023. So what this ordinance is? This ordinance has established Government of National Capital Territory Civil Services Authority was established. Okay, so a civil services authority was established in the national capital territory of Delhi. So chief minister is actually the chairperson of this. Chief minister is chairperson of government of national capital civil services authority, provided with two secretaries. One is chief secretary and the member secretary is secretary finances. So this amendment or this ordinance has nullified the Supreme Court's order. Okay, and thus the move has effectively nullified the Supreme Court's judgment in May 11, wherein in this judgment Supreme Court Constitution Bench handed over or given the control over services to National Capital to Delhi. So the control over services was given to the government of Delhi. Okay, not the union government or to the lieutenant governor, but the control over matters related to police, public order, and land remain remain under control of the lieutenant governor, but all other matters will be under the control of elected government in Delhi. Now, after this judgment, the center has come up with National Capital Civil Services Authority. Okay, National Capital Civil Services Authority, Civil Services Authority, NCCSA. So center introduced Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Act Part 4A to create a new service commission for Delhi for the first time. Now, so statement 3, this amendment act or this ordinance has reinstated the power of the lieutenant governor to appoint or transfer the civil servants in Delhi. Okay, so it further strengthened the position of lieutenant governor. The move makes lieutenant governor the final authority who can act on his sole discretion in deciding matters relating to the transfer and posting of bureaucrats. Okay, the Supreme Court's Constitution Bench judgment deprived Lieutenant Governor of his powers of appointment and transfer of officers in Delhi. However, this new ordinance brought through the amendment to Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Amendment Act, it has reinstated the power and position of Lieutenant Governor with respect to appointment and transfer of officers in Delhi. Now understand what this article is all about. So this article has been examining the constitutional validity of this ordinance. So the President of India exercised the legislative power under Article 123 to the Indian Constitution. So what Article 123 says? Article 123 effectively says the President can promulgate an ordinance when both houses of the Parliament are not in session. Okay. Now, apart from this, under Article 213 of the Indian Constitution, Governor of a state can promulgate an ordinance when both House or at least the Legislative Assembly, in case of a state where there is no Legislative Council, the Governor can promulgate an ordinance, right? So, Article 123 of the Constitution, during the period Parliament was in recess. Okay, so President under Article 123 promulgated the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Amendment Act 2023. Okay, so this was an ordinance, not an act passed by the Parliament. Okay, now the ordinance has negated the Constitution Bench judgment of the Supreme Court, and that was delivered on May 11. And this judgment says that the services are under the control of Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi. Their services will be under the control of the elected government of Delhi. So there were two issues that needs examination. Okay, so what are those issues? One is the scope of the court's verdict. What is the scope of the court's overall verdict? And second is the constitutionality of the ordinance, recently brought ordinance. What is the constitutionality? Because this ordinance has violated or negated the constitution bench of the Supreme Court, Supreme Court's judgment. So therefore there is a need to assess the constitutionality of the ordinance. The Legislative Assembly of National Capital Territory of Delhi has competence over list 2 and list 3. So the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi has competence over the state list plus the concurrent list. So it can pass legislation in both these lists. However, when it comes to Parliament also have unlimited control over subjects in Delhi. It can pass a legislation on state subject, concurrent list subject, and also in the union list subject. So Supreme Court's Constitution Bench held that the Legislative Assembly, because even though it is a union territory, Delhi has a Legislative Assembly. The Legislative Assembly of the National Capital Territory of Delhi has competence over entries in list 2 and list 3, but it has excluded few aspects in the list 2 itself. So what are those exceptions? They are police and police and land. So they are part of the list 2, but they are exempted because the lieutenant governor or union government have ultimate power over these three subjects. Now, the executive power of the National Capital Territory of Delhi is coextensive with its legislative power. Uh, there is an executive in National Capital Territory of Delhi, that is elected government. Okay. Now, elected government executive power is coextensive with the legislative power, and this has been, held by the Supreme Court, and that is, it shall extend all matters with respect to which it has power to legislate. Now, the Legislative Assembly of National Capital has a power to legislate on wide variety of issues which are part of the list 2 and list 3 subjects, except public order, police and land. So therefore the executive power also extends or co-extends with the legislative power of the state or union territories legislation. So this is what the Supreme Court has held. Since services, since services which are part of the list 2, or the officers or the bureaucrats, they implement the policies, they oversees the policies that are formulated by the elected government of Delhi. These officers should be accountable to the elected government in Delhi. The center's control is minimal on those officers, and this is what the Supreme Court judgment says. However, the Union of India has executive power only over three entries in the list 2. So the three entries we already discussed. What are those three entries? Public order, police and land. Okay. However, the National Capital Territory of Delhi, the elected government or the executive does not have the legislative competence over the three entries in list 2. Now, apart from this, the executive power over the services means bureaucracy, administration, that was under entry 41 of the list 2, the total executive power of the services. So that can be exercised exclusively by the National Capital Territory of Delhi, but not the Lieutenant Governor or the Union government. So the interpretation, the overall interpretation of the court was actually inconsistent with Article 239 AA 3, subclause 3 and subclause A of the Indian Constitution. So the overall judgment of the Supreme Court saying that services are under the exclusive control of National Capital Territory of Delhi government is consistent with Article 39 AA and Clause 3 subclause A. However, the interpretation was negated by the Union of India when it has passed the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Amendment Act 2023. So it has passed an ordinance under the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Act 2023. So this has established the Government of National Capital Territory Civil Services Authority. Okay, it has established the Civil Services Authority, and this Civil Services Authority has, or this ordinance, the overall ordinance has reinstated the position of the Lieutenant Governor over appointment and transfer of officers and bureaucrats in Delhi. Okay, because since this is not passed by a parliament, this is an ordinance passed by a president, right? So the interpretation was negated by Union of India, and it has acted through the Council of Ministers. Article 74 of the Indian Constitution says that the president has to act on aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. So therefore this ordinance was promulgated by the Council of Ministers, aid and advice to the president under Article 74. Okay, so this has triggered the extraordinary legislative power of the president under Article 123 of the Constitution. So there is no doubt that president can pass such an ordinance under Article 123 of the Indian Constitution in case the both houses of the parliament are not in session. Okay, so the ordinance is valid for 6 months. The ordinance is valid for 6 months and 6 weeks after the house is reassembled. Okay, 6 weeks the house is reassembled. However, the Union of India's decision to prefer you in fact the judgment was already delivered by the Supreme Court, but the Union government sought a review of the judgment because the judgment has given the greater control over the services in Delhi to the elected government in Delhi. So therefore, Centre has sought to review. Centre has filed a review petition in Supreme Court under Article 137 of the Indian Constitution. So Article 137 says that any aggrieved party can file a review petition in the Supreme Court after the final judgment has been given. So okay, so after the final judgment there will be another option called a curative petition. A curative petition can also be filed after review petition option is exhausted. Now, so the promulgation of ordinance under 123 takes place simultaneously. So on the one hand, the center sought the review of the article, the review of the judgment of the Supreme Court, and secondly, it has also promulgate an ordinance under Article 123 reinstating the power of the Lieutenant Governor. Okay, so the author has been saying that this is an ill-conceived move. Either the center should review the judgment under Article 137 or it should negate the judgment by passing the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Amendment Act 2023. Okay, so the author has been saying that it is an ill-conceived move by the Union government. So in the landmark 7 judge bench verdict of the Supreme Court, so that was in the Krishna Kumar versus State of Bihar 2017. Please remember this case. So Krishna Kumar versus Krishna Kumar Singh versus State of Bihar in the year 2017. The Supreme Court held that the Constitution bench of the Supreme Court held that the satisfaction of the president under Article 23 is not immune from the judicial scrutiny. Okay, so the Supreme Court or the High Court can scrutinize the ordinance that was passed by the president or the governor, and it is not immune from the judicial review. Okay, so apart from that, powers under Article 123 is not a parallel source of lawmaking or an independent legislative authority, and that was also held by the Supreme Court. In fact, it was further held that the court is empowered to look into the relevance material before placed before the president. So the relevance of the material that was placed before the president when he or she promulgates such an ordinance, but not the sufficiency or adequacy of that material. So this is all about the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Amendment Act 2023, and Centre has already sought to review the judgment that was passed by the Supreme Court. And also, apart from that, the Centre has appointed a new National Capital Civil Services Authority that sought to, reinstate the position of the Lieutenant Governor with respect to appointment and transfer of civil services or civil servants in Delhi. Okay, so you can see here the center issues ordinance on control of services in Delhi, establishes National Capital Civil Services Authority. So this is all with respect to this news article. So the next important news article is with respect to the difference between old pension scheme and new pension scheme. So employees in several states have been demanding that the state government should reinstate, or the state government should revert back to the old pension scheme, because majority of the states have been implementing the new pension scheme. This significantly reduces the financial burden on the respective governments. So therefore majority of the states have been adopting the new pension scheme. Since it is detrimental to the interests of the employees have been demanding that the state government should revert back to the old pension scheme. Now, in this backdrop, we need to understand what is the difference between old pension scheme and also the new pension scheme. In fact, the several states like Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, and also Punjab, Himachal Pradesh. So they already implementing the old pension scheme. Okay, so they revert back to the old pension scheme. In fact, several state governments poll promise, one of the major poll promises was old pension scheme. So in this backdrop, we need to understand what this old pension scheme and new pension scheme. Now understand the old pension scheme. So, old pension scheme offers pensions to government employees on the basis of their lost drawn salaries. So, what was their lost drawn salary? For example, a government employee's basic monthly salaries at the time of retirement is rupees 10,000, and after his retirement, he or she would be assured of a pension of 5,000 rupees. Okay, so it amounts to 50 percentage of total salary at the time of his or her retirement. Now the attraction to the old pension scheme lay in its promise to assured pension. Okay, so there is an assured or defined pension, but in the case of the new pension scheme, there is no assured or defined pension benefit to the retired employees. So therefore, this in fact the old pension scheme is also described as defined benefit scheme. This is also known as a defined benefit scheme because it provides a promise of an assured or defined benefit. Also, like the salaries of the government employees, the monthly payouts of the pensioners are also increased with dearness allowances. For employees, the salaries very often increases with dearness allowances. In the similar way, in the old pension scheme, pensions of retired employees will also increase with increase in the dearness allowances. And when government announces dearness allowance, that will also increases the pensions under the old pension scheme. And that is also one reason why the employees have been protesting to shift to the old pension scheme. Next, what were the concerns with the old pension scheme? So there were several concerns associated with the old pension scheme. So the concerns include, the main problem was that the pension liability remained unfunded. The liability will be on the respective state governments or the union governments. So therefore, the liability of these pensions are remain unfunded. So that means that there was no corpus specifically provided for the payment of these pensions. When there is no specific corpus for providing pensions to these employees, then that would ultimately increases the financial strain or the financial burden on the respective governments. The government of India budget provided for pensions every year, right? So government of India provided for but the budget of the government of India provided for pensions every year, and however there is no clear plan on how to pay year after year in the future. So this is another concern with the old pension scheme. And the third concern was pay as you go scheme. Okay, this is a pay as you go scheme. So this has created a significant intergenerational equity issues, meaning that this has increased burden on the taxpayer because the taxpayers money is paid on those employees, meaning the present generation had to bear the continuously rising burden of pensioners. Okay, so the present generation had to pay the taxes and they have to bear the burden of increasing taxes, increasing amount of pensions for the retired employees. Now understand the new pension scheme. So what is a new pension scheme? So this is a substitute to old pension scheme, and that was introduced by the central government in April 2004. So after its introduction, the central government has also suggested state governments to implement the new pension scheme in place of the existing old pension scheme. So please remember the date on the year of implementation of the new pension scheme. And this pension scheme is open to employees from public sector, private sector, and even unorganized sector workers. Okay, so except those from armed forces. For armed forces, still the old pension scheme is being implemented. Okay, so for armed forces, still old pension scheme is being implemented, but new pension scheme is open to public employees, private employees, and unorganized sector employees. Now, the scheme also encourages to invest in pension account at a regular intervals. Okay, so during the course of an employment, an employee or an employee is encouraged to invest the money in a pension account. Okay, so after retirement, the subscriber can take out a certain percentage of corpus which he has invested. Okay, so he is allowed to take out this certain percentage of corpus so that he can use that corpus in a for his personal uses or any other purposes. For example, when it comes to the old pension scheme, the employee is not allowed to take a certain percentage of corpus out of the pension fund. And third, a beneficiary receives the remaining amount as a monthly pension after retirement. Okay, so this is part of the new pension scheme. So, what is the nodal agency of this new pension scheme? The Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority is the nodal agency for the implementation of new pension scheme. Now, if you look into the eligibility criteria of the new pension scheme, any Indian citizen between the age group of 18 years to 16 years is eligible for new pension scheme. Apart from Indian citizens, non-resident Indians are also eligible for new pension scheme. Okay, so in this backdrop, it is important to discuss PRAN. Okay, so what is PRAN? PRAN is a permanent retirement account number. So every new pension scheme subscriber will be issued with a 12-digit unique number, and this 12-digit unique number is called as PRAN, Permanent Retirement Account Number, or PRAN. Okay, so this is all about the new pension scheme, and we have also discussed old pension scheme. Now understand the difference between new pension scheme and also the old pension scheme. What is the difference between NPS and OPS? The old pension scheme is a pension oriented scheme, and the old pension scheme particularly that gives assured amount of pension, so therefore it is known as the pension oriented scheme. It offers regular pensions to employees during their retirement. So after their retirement, it offers a regular and assured pensions to the retired individuals, and pension amount is also 50% of the last drawn salary by employee. So thus old pension scheme is the pension amount, and it is a constant amount, and this will also change with increase in DA by the government, dearness allowance by the government. So on the other hand, the national pension scheme or new pension scheme is actually an investment cum pension scheme, and certain sum of the corpus from every employee will be invested in equities. Okay, so that sum will be invested in equity and debt instruments. So therefore, NPS does not guarantee an assured income for the employee or the retired pensioner. So therefore, these pensioners have been demanding that they need or they want an assured amount of incomes, because since there will be a huge fluctuations when the pensioners' money is being invested in equity markets, either they lose money or they gain money. So therefore, there is a probability of generating significant returns also. So because of this huge uncertainty and volatility in getting benefits after retirement, so they wanted to switch over to the old pension scheme. However, the old pension scheme, it puts a significant amount of financial strain on finances or the exchequer of the state and the central governments. So therefore, even economists have also been advocating that states switching over to the OPS is not sustainable. Okay, so they are cautioning against switching over to the old pension scheme from the national pension scheme. Now here a brief difference between old pension scheme and new pension scheme has been given. Okay, old pension scheme guarantees lifelong income after retirement. Okay, now government bears the expenditure incurred for the pension. Employee contributes, employer also contributes, and government bears expenditure incurred on the pension during the lifetime of the employee. So under the scheme, the monthly payment is assured for the employee, where amount is equivalent to 50% of the last drawn salary. However, when it comes to the national pension scheme, it is a participatory scheme where employees contribute to their pension corpus from their salaries. So employees themselves contribute to the corpus funds along with the employer commitment, employer contribution, and also matching contribution by the government. And the funds will be invested in ERWARC investment schemes through pension fund managers. There will be pension fund managers, and these pension fund managers will invest these funds in equity and debt instruments. On retirement, 60% of the corpus, which is tax free, and it can be withdrawn, and the remaining 40% can be taxed and it cannot be withdrawn. Okay, so that will be invested in equities or annuities and it is taxed. So you just remember, you understood the difference between old pension scheme and new pension scheme. The next article is with respect to the new policy. Okay, this is an insurance policy that is being implemented or planned to implement by the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India. And this, what are the objectives of this new policy? And this is actually an affordable product covering health, life, property, accident risks to give citizens protection, expedite claim settlement by linking death registries onto the industry platform. Okay, now we'll understand what exactly this. But before actually discussing this article, we need to understand the evolution of insurance sector in India. Firstly, in the year 1956, okay, 1956 and 70, there was a nationalization of insurance companies. Task was undertaken in India. All life insurance companies were nationalized from to form LIC in the year 1956, and non-life insurance from to form general insurance companies in the year 1972. Okay, so LIC deal with life insurance and general insurance corporation deal with non-life insurance. Non-life insurance, accident cover, property and vehicle insurance, etc. Now, so Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India is a statutory body. Okay, so this is a statutory regulatory body, and the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India (LIC) and the General Insurance Corporation, they were acts passed in the year 1999. So, making Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India a statutory regulatory body for insurance and ending the monopoly over LIC and General Insurance Corporation. Right. So that was took place in the year 1993 to 1999. So in 2003 to 2013, post liberalization period, the insurance industry recorded a significant growth. The number of private payers increased to 46. Overall, across the country, the number of private payers have also significantly increased after the post-liberalization phase. Now, increase in the FDI limit. The government has also increased the overall FDI limit in the year 2014. Okay, so the FDI limit has increased from 26 percentage to 49 percentage for the foreign life insurance companies. So they can increase their stakes up to 49%, and that was increased in the year 2014. And 2015 onwards, the government has been pushing for reforms in the insurance sector. The government has introduced Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, and Ayushman Bharat as per the Union Budget 2018-19. And these insurance schemes were also integrated with the Jam Trinity or Jandan Yojana. Okay, Jandan Yojana. And there was an auto debit facility also under these insurance schemes. Okay, so this is all about the evolution of insurance sector in India. Next, what is this article is exactly about? What are the benefits or the advantages of this integrated policy where all the insurance policies will be covered under a single policy? Okay, so the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India is driving a multi-pronged changes to expand citizens safety nets. How it has been driving a multi-pronged changes to expand citizen safety nets. So there will be a new bundled insurance product, and this new bundled or an umbrella insurance product that is known as Bima Vistar, and this Bima Vistar will provide. So please remember Bima Vistar, and Bima Vistar will provide health, accident, and property cover through a single simple policy. Apart from that, it will permit insurers to sell value added services. When insurers have been selling their policies, in order to make those policies more and more attractive, those insurance companies will also provide value added services. For example, one such value added services is a yoga class bundled with the health scheme. If an individual is taking a health insurance policy, the company may also provide a yoga class as a value added policy. Secondly, we have discussed about the Bima Vistar. So this is a bundled insurance product. Secondly, there is a Bima Sugam platform. This is a one-stop shop for customers integrating insurers and distributors. Okay, so there was a Bima Sugam policy. There will be a Bima Sugam policy also, and this is a one-stop for customers and that integrating insurers and distributors. And women will lead a campaign to spur in insurance penetration in each Gram Sabha. The power of the role of women would be leveraged at the local level, at the Gram Sabha level, to increase the insurance penetration. And linking digital health registries or digital death registries to platform, so claims can be settled within hours of the day. So one such problem in insurance claims is that taking too much time for the settlement of these claims. And secondly, roping in states to form insurance committees and expand coverage across districts. So these are all the envisioned benefits of the new policy that was proposed by the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India. So the overall objective of this new policy is to increase the insurance penetration, especially in rural areas, and also attracting investments and create more and more job opportunities in the insurance sector. Now we need to discuss this in a detailed way. So what exactly this is all about? India's insurance regulator, that is Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, it has been plans to, uh, you know, uh, the plans of Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India will fructify if households across the country could soon be able to get an affordable single policy. And this affordable single policy covers all aspects like health insurance, life insurance, property insurance, and accident insurance. So now there will be no need to take a multiple policies when an individual has been taking an insurance. Okay, so this will cover all aspects of an insurance, and they can also get their claims settled within hours. So even secure value added services at the time of buying a policy. Okay, and all these so the claim settlement will also be eased and those claims will be settled very quickly. And even secure value added services at the time of buying a policy. So what are the value added services? A private company, a private insurance company can offer a yoga class when taking a health policy. Okay, so they can also secure a value added services. And this is actually an ambitious bid to expand poor insurance penetration. In India, there is a very poor insurance penetration because lack of awareness over the insurance, and in fact, highly centralized insurance sector. So, and lack of financial inclusion are some of the problems, and because of this problem, there is a poor insurance penetration in the country. The Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India is devising a new affordable bundled product. And this new affordable bundled product we have also discussed, that is Bima Vistar. Bima Vistar. And this Bima Vistar envisioned the expansion of the insurance coverage or increasing the insurance penetration, and it will give citizens protection against multiple risks and seeking to expedite claims settlements by linking death registers onto the common industry platform. Okay, now the initiatives are part of the broader overhaul, including this will also include the legislative amendments to attract more and more investments through differentiated license to private sector, or attracting more and more private players like similar to a banking sector. And when more and more private players are entered into the insurance domain, then the policies would become more and more competitive, and that would ensure affordability of those policies. Okay, affordability of those policies to consumers. And affordability and attempts by the private players to increase awareness among the people about the insurance would also increase insurance penetration. So therefore, it includes a broader overhaul, and that also includes legislative amendments or legislative measures. And the overall objective is to make insurance available, affordable, and accessible to all citizens of our country. And with a gram panchayat to district level approach. So there will be a gram panchayat to district level approach will be undertaken. So these changes could double the number of jobs in sector to 1.2 crore. Okay, so overall these changes will also double the number of jobs in the sector to 1.2 crore. And a new Bima Sugam portal will also be launched, and this new Bima Sugam portal will integrate insurers, distributors onto a single platform, and this will make one-stop shop for customers who at a later stage can pursue service requests and settlement of claims through the same portal. Okay, so the regulator is continuously developing a possible linchpin product, Bima Vistar. So the regulator is simultaneously developing a possible linchpin product, and that is known as Bima Vistar. Okay. So that will be bundled risk cover for life, health, property, and casualties or accidents. Okay, so a woman-centric workforce of Bima Wahaks carriers. ఎవరో woman-centric workforce of Bima Wahaks carriers in each Gram Sabha. भैया in class lo man please. I'm in class. The woman-centric workforce of Bima Wahaks carriers in each Gram Sabha. So they will meet the woman heads of each household to convene them that the composite insurance product like Bima Vistar can come in handy if there is any distress. Okay, so the woman-centric workforce of Bima Wahaks in each Gram Sabha. So that will meet the woman heads of each household to convince them that the composite insurance product is like a Bima Vistar can come in handy in any distress. So, so the next article will be a new committee to keep watch on cheetah project. Okay, so following a death of three cheetah cubs. So recently there was a news that three cheetah cubs were died. Okay, so following death of three cheetah cubs this week, a center on Thursday appointed a new steering committee. Okay, so this new steering committee says, or it has comprising of national, international experts to oversee the implementation of Project Cheetah. right? Right. So what this field visits says, what is the objective of this field visit? The committee mandate is to monitor the progress of cheetah reintroduction program. Okay, so it will also advise Madhya Pradesh Forest Department and the National Tiger Conservation Authority. Okay, so the overall mandate of the committee is to mandate is to monitor the progress of cheetah reintroduction program and also advise the Madhya Pradesh Forest Department and the National Tiger Conservation Authority. And it will decide opening up the cheetah habitat for ecotourism and suggest regulation in this regard. And it will also suggest ways to involve local community in the project and also in activities. Now the committee will be in force for 2 years and it will convene at least one time. So the meeting will take place every month. So besides conducting field visits across the Kuno Palpur National Park, now these cheetahs from both South Africa and also Namibia, Namibia were introduced in the Kuno Palpur National Park. Okay, there was recently an increasing death rate of these cheetahs, and in fact, cheetah cubs were also died. So, because of this reason, for the successful implementation of the project Cheetah, the center has constituted a new committee. Okay, so the center has constituted a new committee, Project Cheetah. So, this new committee will take up all these matters and make the successful implementation of the project Cheetah. Now we need to understand these common name of this cheetah is cheetah and a scientific name is Anonyx jubatus. Okay, reintroduction of cheetahs in India. So the action plan for introduction of cheetah in India was released in the Ministry of Environment, Forest, Climate Change in the 90th meeting of National Tiger Conservation Authority. Okay, so the action plan was actually introduced in the 19th meeting of National Tiger Conservation Authority 2022, and such a plan was first proposed in 2009 in September 2022. Okay, so 8 cheetahs were introduced in India from Namibia. Okay, September 2022. So 8 cheetahs have been relocated to the Kuno Palpur National Park, Madhya Pradesh. So the relocation of cheetahs in India from Namibia is the world's first intercontinental large carnivore translocation project. So across the world. Now it is slightly brownish and golden skin, thicker than Asiatic cheetahs. So when it comes to when it is about the African cheetahs, so it is slightly brownish and golden skin, and it is thicker than the Asiatic cheetahs. And it is more. It has a more prominent spots and lines on the face, and it has found all over the African continent. We are sourcing African cheetahs from both Namibia and South Africa. So the IUCN status of African cheetah is vulnerable. And when it comes to the Asiatic cheetah, they are slightly smaller than the African cheetahs, and they have a pale yellowish color skin and more fur under their body belly specifically. And they found only in Iran, and in Iran only 12 cheetahs were found. And in India, they were extinct in the year 1952, and as per the IUCN Red List, they are categorized as critically endangered. And next, the cheetahs are coming. So this is about the cheetahs. Total 20 cheetahs were introduced into the Kuno Palpur National Park. 20 cheetahs were introduced into Kuno Palpur National Park, 8 from Namibia and 12 from South Africa. Okay, so the Kuno National Park, Madhya Pradesh, the Kuno National Park will have 600 hectare of fenced enclosure to house cheetahs. Okay, so the carrying capacity of cheetahs is 21. What is the carrying capacity? I mean, the prey and predator population. How can the Kuno Palpur National Park can be able to sustain population is a carrying capacity. So the total carrying capacity is 21. So 20 cheetahs were already introduced. So the long-term population expectation size is around 50 plus cheetahs will be introduced across various national parks, and there is a similar relocation program South Africa, Malawi, and Mozambique. So with Asiatic lions, uh, the cheetahs could share its space with Asiatic lions, and there are several threats also. So with Kuno's existing leopard population, cheetahs could face the threats. Just remember the number 8 from Namibia and 12 from South Africa. Kuno National Park, that was in Madhya Pradesh. So action plan for introduction of cheetahs in India. So with emphasis on first release site Kuno National Park. Okay. Now let's discuss the next article. This article with respect to the food adulteration. Okay, so this is with respect to food adulteration. Now recently, because of the lumpy skin disease, okay, lumpy skin disease, there was a drastic reduction in milk production. When there is a lower availability of milk, there is a probability that the milk would be adulterated. Okay, milk would be adulterated. So in order to prevent the adulteration of milk, Food Safety and Standards Authority of India has intervened, and it has started the large scale surveillance of the milk, so across different states. Now what is a food adulteration? This is a process of lowering the nutritive value of food, either by removing a vital component or by adding substances of inferior quality. Okay, so this is called the food adulteration. Okay, so what is food adulteration? This is process of lowering the nutritive value of food, either removing the vital component or by adding the substances which are inferior in quality, and the substance that is used lower the quality as known as adulteration. Now, the substance which is actually used will lower the quality of the product. So what are the reasons for the adulteration of the food? So the reasons include to get more profit, to increase the weight, and also increase volume of trade by showing lower prices. So these are the objectives or the reasons of adulteration of food. Adulteration of food is not good for the health of the consumers. So therefore, Food and Safety and Standards Authority of India has intervened, and it has started the surveillance programs. Next, because of the lumpy skin disease, there is a drastic reduction in the milk production. We need to discuss what is a lumpy skin disease, and that has been affecting the cattle. So this is a lumpy skin disease for short, and it is caused by pox virus. So this is a viral disease caused by pox virus, and it is transmitted through the bite of an infected mosquito or tick. So it can spread through saliva and nasal secretions, right? So this disease can spread through saliva and nasal secretion. The lumpy skin disease is not a zoonotic disease, which means it cannot infect people. So what is a zoonotic disease? Zoonotic disease is a disease that infect that infect cattle to individual. Okay, so unlike the COVID-19 pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic is in fact a zoonotic disease. Now, the main symptoms of the lumpy skin disease include skin nodules, development, and lumps in one area or all over the body. So, what will be the effects on cattle? It will reduce the milk production, it will reduce the male fertility, will also lead to weight loss and pregnancy loss. Okay, so there is no specific treatment available as of now, but antibiotics, anti inflammatory drugs, vitamins are prescribed to prevent the secondary infection of lumpy skin disease. The outbreak of the lumpy skin disease has reported in several countries, including India, Bangladesh, Nepal, China, Vietnam, Myanmar, and Thailand. Okay, so this is all about the lumpy skin disease and the food reduction in milk production and adulteration surveillance by the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. So these are all very important and relevant news articles for today's discussion. Okay, so thank you, and sorry for the interference interruption in between the video. Okay, thank you.